What do you want? I'm in the middle of a podcast. Leave me alone.
This guy who really is, I think, a bad guy. Russell, I think you are a bad guy.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what the truth.
I don't want him knowing where I live.
You can hate Russell, but one thing you cannot take from Russell is his ability to play that game.
I ain't finished playing just yet.
What's going on, everyone? This is the Russell Hantz Show, a very special episode today. I am Cody Dunlap, filling in for Russell, and with me, I have a very big guest, the man, the myth, the legend, Alex Kidwell. Say hello to the award-winning listeners, Alex.
What's going on, award-winning listeners? Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Cody.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to have you here, and in this episode with the rumors circulating around Russell, which we'll get to. First, we're going to talk a little Ghost Island stuff, but it's good to have someone on here with me that's really, I don't know, what would you consider the title, a reality TV analyst?
You're probably looking for the word someone without a life who watches all of this shit.
Yeah, but I think that your ability to see the big picture and really understand the value in something like Survivor Australia using Russell is something that I look forward to, like, bouncing ideas off of with you, because I see a lot of reactions on social media, and I feel like a lot of people are kind of missing a lot of things. Like they're not understanding why it would make so much sense. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting into it too with you, buddy. Let's do it.
But yeah, anyways, first things first, we got to talk Ghost Islands. We got to give predictions. What do you think of this season so far, man?
I think it's been okay. I don't hate it. Like some people I know hate it. I don't think I hate it. I mean, maybe I just can't hate Survivor. It is, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a show I love. So it's hard for me to ever say I hate it. I certainly wouldn't say it's like a top season. There's definitely some interesting players and some interesting characters throughout the course. But I think to me, it comes down to like the main story every week is ultimately like, is this the week Navidi decides to implode? And like the end of the story is like, no, maybe next week, tune in. So it's just the fact that like the story hasn't really advanced beyond that. That seemed like kind of the story from like week 3 or week 4 all the way till now. I think that's what's holding it back, if anything.
Yeah. I would say, man, don't speak too soon, man, because we have potential for some pretty lame weeks. I feel like that's where I hope the theme Ghost Island comes in, and just really like, because with Ghost Island, really anything can happen with the advantages, and hopefully they're used, like, hopefully it just works out to where like a slow week will become an entertaining week just because of an advantage.
Yeah. I like, that is the one thing I think you have to give to Ghost Island. It's been a very messy kind of a wrinkle in the game, but it really has thrown everyone's expectations of what the game is, I think, for a little bit of a spin. Like now you can have a stick and it can be an idol. So
dude, yeah,
best prepare.
So true, man. And I think like for people that have a problem with it, which I don't know that too many people like do, I think when the theme was announced, like people were kind of freaking out because we've seen where too many advantages can really like fuck things up in the past. But I think like it could have been like the potential for it being a disaster where there's just like way too many advantages. I feel like the producers, or just the way it's worked out, it's really done well with how the advantages have been used, to where I never really feel like there's too many out there. But at the same time, there has been a shitload.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially given where, you know, at least my expectations were coming in, that like I was definitely dubious of this whole thing. I thought it was going to be a mess. I think mostly it's been pretty good. Like maybe they could, you know, change it a little bit. Like with the, I don't love the idea that somebody can just go there and be like, oh, no game for you. Like I wish like make the games a little harder to win, but like let everyone compete each week or something. But if that's the only criticism, then I think overall it's been a successful twist.
Yeah. And well, so there's kind of two angles with that, where that's obviously like a chance for production influence, which usually I have a problem with because I just want to see it. But I understand that's part of the game. And I feel like the people that have got into play versus the people that haven't got into play, if I'm a producer, I would have probably made the exact same decisions they made. So I feel like they've done a good job of getting the advantages in the hands of people that will be entertaining with them. I don't know if you see that the same way or not.
I'll give you that. I mean, I can't like off the top of my head remember exactly who didn't get a game, but you have more knowledge in that area than I do for sure. Like
That's the thing.
The behind the scenes side, the dark side of the moon, if you will.
That's the thing you don't see. Yeah, and honestly, dude, I love the combination I have where like I have experience on a different show than Survivor that was like an island show where it's similar enough.
Right.
Where I can really figure out what's going on, but at the same time, I haven't signed any non-disclosures for Survivor, so I can at the same time really get into speculating behind the scenes. But I think that what you said there was you don't remember who didn't play, which to me that's the proof that they've done a good job. Because if it was like a big player and you're like, oh, Michael didn't get to play, or someone that needed to play didn't get to play, then it would be like they dropped the ball. But because the people that have gone to Ghost Island, I don't know. My thing with Ghost Island is like they would always force them to draw rocks, right?
Right.
I felt like if they made them vote like one by one, where Jeff's like left to right, throw out a name, and whoever has the most names goes. I feel like that would have just added like a new dynamic to the game, similar to like what we see on the challenge on MTV, where they vote verbally just real quick, and then that just creates so much drama, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, the idea you could tell was that this was going to be the kind of a thing like with Exile Island, where like the tribe is supposed to get together and come to some kind of decision that benefits the group and hurts like the other tribe. But we've seen this season that people are just so especially because they switched tribes so early, right? That there's two groups who are just diametrically opposed in what they want. So because they can't agree, it's just like, all right, rocks. But like, I don't think that's what production had in mind with this.
Yeah. I guess they when they were game planning it, it's easy to look back and like kind of see how you could have done better. Where Ghost Island's just such a unique concept. It's kind of like that was Stranded too, where they had their rules set in place and then shit would come up. It's probably the same thing with Ghost Island, where if they ever were to do a Ghost Island again, maybe that would be a change where they have people physically say names rather than rocks, because it's such a cop out to me to tell them like you should be telling them to draw rocks every single time. I feel like you always want to make no move when you have the option to. I feel like
right, yeah, like this. I mean, it reminds me of like Blood versus Water, right, where they're given the clue to the idol in front of everyone, and so like the only play is to throw in the fire, right? Like so everybody just throws it in the fire. Like there's only so much you can do in the way of like steering the ship, right, and like manipulating the game if you're having to do it in front of everyone like on the beach.
Yeah, no doubt, dude. And dude, it's so crazy how different Survivor was like back in the day. Like there's so much like I just think about like there was a time when like clues were so important. Like I'm actually watching Russell's first season right now. And I don't know, you probably remember this. You remember everything, but I'm two episodes in, right? And Russell has already secured his first hidden immunity idol, like without a clue.
Right.
They actually gave a chick that infiltrated their camp a clue to the idol, along with her getting to go to their camp, to Russell's tribe's camp. And she got the clue, and it basically told her that if you can't find the idol, you're barking up the wrong tree. And her reaction to that is, which in today's game, if you got that, you'd look in every tree and you'd find it. Her reaction is she reads it and she goes, oh, well, there's hundreds of trees out here. I might as well not even look.
Yeah. Yasmin, not exactly we don't exactly open the dictionary and turn to Yasmin when we're looking up the legends of the Survivor game.
No, but what I'm saying is, man, like there are a lot of players back then that would have had that reaction. Whereas I think if you take the weakest player in today's game, like Ghost Island or the seasons that are being recorded right now, like I think if you take the weakest player out there and give them a clue, they'll find an idol. Where I feel like the level of play has advanced so much compared to back then.
Yeah, definitely. And like I don't know necessarily what that is. I think a degree of it is probably just really good casting, just finding fans and people who are competitive and want to go out there and just go for broke on this stuff. Because, I don't know what else would necessarily account for that. I mean, other than people just, seeing what's worked. Because like if you haven't watched Russell, then you don't know to, maybe go do that.
Yeah, exactly. I think you kind of answered your own question there where you said if you don't watch Russell, you don't know to do that. I think that once Russell laid the blueprint down, it showed it to the world, and then everyone started playing at an advanced level, and then it slowly built up to where it is today. And it just blows my mind, man, because I would have thought by season 19, people would be playing hard. Like, that's a lot of fucking seasons for people not to pick up simple things, such as looking for a hidden immunity idol, or just the fact that Russell was in a place where he just told each individual person on his tribe that they had a final two together, basically, and it actually worked. Like, they were not playing the fucking game whatsoever back then. And it's really fascinating that it took like until season 19 and 20 for Russell to lay that down. And then from then, I think afterwards, people started elevating their play where there's a big jump, and then it slowly built up to where it is today, which is like a really fucking high level of play where everybody is pretty in tune with, their strategy. But it's just interesting to me. And a lot of people don't think that Russell can compete at this level that people compete at today. Because I guess they're just assuming that he's going to go out there and build a dumbass girl alliance. Like, what do you think about the gap between when Russell last played till today?
Man, Russell's biggest problem on any season would just be that people have seen his game, right? Like, it was so captivating and compelling, but at the same time, it's like terrifying if you have to play against. Like, your mind just goes to like the place of like, what is he doing? Like, you could tell with his third season, right? Because his first two seasons he plays back to back and people don't really know him, and they clearly underestimate him like multiple times. And then he goes back out there, and like that tribe way self-sabotage just to get rid of Russell. Like, they ruined all of their own chances just because of how scared they were of him. And like, man, like yeah, that's going to be the hardest thing, right? It's just curbing that like irrational fear that people have of him now. Like, hopefully he just, like in any given con, he just needs a good draw now with the cast. Like, that's going to be the biggest thing more than anything, is like people who might want to mix it up and dance with Russell rather than just like, oh, hell no, the second they see him out there.
Yeah, definitely. I have so much to talk about with Russell, but I want to just announce the rumor,
right? Yeah.
Real quick, just so that anybody who's not on like Twitter understands. It broke yesterday that Russell is, the reason I'm here doing the Russell Hantz podcast, right, is because Russell is on Survivor Australia. And while I know as much as anyone else, I mean, I guess I talked to Russell maybe most recently out of anyone, so maybe I know a little bit more. But all he told me, man, is that he needed me to fill in for him for the podcast. And that's all I really knew. And I knew I would find out eventually. But when I put the dots together, I'm all in on this theory, man. What about you?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Because I knew, like, we had been talking and you were like, yeah, I don't, like, Russell just kind of like handed me the podcast. I don't know how to get a hold of him. I don't know where he is. Like, I was like, that does seem very strange. And like, this really does, like, it's the answer to all the riddles. So I'm definitely buying it.
It could be it could be other things, like, of course, but I mean, I think what gives it so much credibility to me is the guy that broke the news seemed to have a very strong hatred towards Russell, and I don't think somebody that dislikes him would break this on social media.
That's true. He's also got a pretty good track record. Like, he's known for getting this stuff ahead of time. I don't know how.
Dude, if this is accurate, which we'll say as we do this full podcast, we're going to go under that assumption. It's really, to me, it feels unfortunate almost, because I feel like I'm one of the closest people to Russell. And if you remember in the past, Russell was known with CBS for kind of like having a loud mouth as far as like kind of spoiling the seasons a little bit.
Right.
And for him to not even tell me and not even tell people that he's closest to, whoever maybe, and networks do do give away spoilers to create buzz. Maybe it's the Australian Survivor that intentionally did this. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I feel like Russell did such a good job of like leaving it a mystery that it's a real shame for whoever the camera guy or whoever it was that sent this news over, like, couldn't have kept it a secret as well.
That's a fair point. Yeah. No, if you're, Russell has said like he didn't leak that stuff, and this is definitely like a point in his favor for sure.
But now we get to people saying, oh, the way he played back then won't work now, and they just assume he's going to play the same game. He's not going to play the same game, and he's, just by him not spilling the beans to his closest friends that he's going out to do Survivor, is like, that just shows that he's changed as a person.
Yeah, well, I think it'll be interesting. No matter what you say, it's going to be compelling. I don't know how else the cast will shake out. If he's one American with like 23 Australians, that'll be interesting. If there's like a couple of other people from other places or from the States, like that could be interesting. But more than anything, yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see how people from an international community that may or may not have watched US Survivor will react to him, because if they don't know him, then they're more inclined to just like take him at face value and maybe like just go based on what they see and not based on what they've heard. But if they've watched him play, man, it's going to be a hard hill for him to overcome. Like, man, I always go back to when he convinced people that his dog washed away in Katrina.
Oh my God.
I was just like, oh God.
Dude, that was the craziest, like,
jaw was on the floor. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's got the night vision on him, and he's just laughing to himself as he says this. And the girls are crying around him, dude. Like, holy shit. Oh man.
That was an authentic TV moment right there. No doubt about that.
But that's what you want, bro. You want authentic TV moments. You want people who don't give a fuck and are going to go out there, be themselves. And that's what is such great TV. But I will say, man, like, Australians do watch American Survivor. Yeah. And I mean, they recently got their own, and it's a really big deal to them. They fucking love Survivor. I would say they obviously don't have as many people in their country as we do, but I feel like they are like more diehard for Survivor than we are. Like, obviously we have a community that is, but like, if you walk out on the streets in America and you ask people, hey, did you see Ghost Island last night? It's going to be like 1 in every 300. It's going to be a very fucking small number. Whereas I feel like in Australia, it's much bigger, to the point where I think Russell's status could be fucking huge there. And a lot of people don't understand that in America, because I don't know if they haven't traveled to other countries, or they've never been to Australia, or what, or never, don't have that many friends from Australia. But if you ask Australians, they'll tell you that they watch Survivor and they love American Survivor. And like, I saw the argument on Twitter where people are like saying, oh, well, like, yes, Americans will watch Australian Survivor now, which a ton of Americans are learning what Survivor Australia is just because of yesterday. And I'm sure they'll learn tonight as the hashtag Survivor on Wednesday night. But there's the reason that the network would want Russell, and the reason it would make so much sense, is because his status in Australia is big enough to get Australians to check out the show with him on it. Like, and I think people are missing that.
Totally. Which begs the question, I think, what are the odds they give him some kind of like Paul in Big Brother 19 twist where he's safe for 3 rounds or something?
Well, I think, we talk about it a lot on the Russell Hantz show. This is kind of the rated R, unfiltered Survivor podcast where we don't really shy away from talking about behind the scenes stuff. Yeah. And in Survivor, where there are no live feeds, like, we see how rigged Big Brother is on the live feeds. Imagine if there was no live feeds. Yeah. Now you see where I'm going here. Like, the fucking influence that producers can have on a game like Survivor is insane. A lot of people woke up to it with Ben finding all the idols the way he did. Right. And I talked about it, I think, 2 weeks ago on the Russell Hantz show, recapping episode 9, where it's just so fucking easy for producers to lead people to any advantage that they make up, really, because they make up advantages sometimes that you could easily hand someone the Paul treatment. But I think like you said too, though, where if they know him and stuff, like similar to the third time he played American Survivor, that's where my mind's at, man. I feel like he's so. I feel like people won't be able to get past like Russell Hantz, like, that's a threat. Like, the
figure
photo
right.
out. Yeah. Even when I watched his first, when I watched his first season, which he dominated, and then Heroes vs. Villains, he was playing against the best that Survivor had to offer at the time. But like the way that he talked to, that's my favorite season by far. I think a lot of people's, but the way that he talked to people, man, the look in his eyes when he talked to them, it wasn't really a good facial expression that you want to put on in Survivor. I feel like it's just like, I feel like if he had that, I feel like he's going to have to like really fucking transform his mannerisms, like which is not easy to do.
No, very hard. I mean, either that or it's just going to have to luck out and find like a nice little contingent of like real snaky people who want to like just get down with them. Like I said, I mean, that's the dream. It's hard to find, but you know, the last season of Survivor Australia that they did, there was a guy who really early on was very, very overtly snaky. And some people decided they'd rather be like in his corner than not. So, I mean, we'll see if there's some of those people and he's able to, you know, wiggle his way in there, then there's a chance. He's just, I mean, he'll have a lot of work to do to overcome a reputation.
You're spot on with that. And there's a couple other like positive things. Like we just went over like a lot of like negativity and legitimate concerns. But yeah, when I watched Survivor Australia, man, and even I don't know if you checked out South Africa, the first episode that just came out here, in whatever season it is airing. But it seems like so many of these male contestants and even female contestants are like fucking cutthroat, dude, like almost as if they model their game after Russell's. Like they're mean in interviews. Like a lot of them are compared to the American version. I mean the American version this season, I'm pretty sure the entire cast is like friends in real life. Like I don't think there's one like rivalry where there's like legit bad blood there.
I think they're like all out yachting together last weekend on Instagram. I think I saw it.
Which whatever, man. I mean, it's good that they can get along and stuff, but and back in the day on Survivor, I don't think it used to be like that.
No.
There used to be people that you just like wouldn't want to, people like Russell, you know, people you just wouldn't want to fuck with. Like this season, when I scroll through the cast, like the alpha male types would be like probably Chris and Michael, which I don't even consider them like hard asses. They're just like pretty boys. Like those are the athletic types, and you don't really have anyone who's really like rough around the edges at all.
Yeah. I guess Dom is kind of a blue collar dude. I mean, I guess, but yeah, no, I definitely get your point. I see what you're saying.
Dom seems like a nice guy to me. You know,
he is probably.
He doesn't seem like he's
But he's there to play. But right, he is.
Yeah, he is there to play, which is good. Which not a knock on him. I just wish not a knock on any of the individuals on the cast, but just like I wish you would have that element of like somebody who's really fucking edgy. In there, just because there's people like that in real life. So why not throw one person like that in the cast to fucking represent the entire population that's watching the show. But my point of all this, man, is that in other countries I see a ton of that. Whereas recently, so a lot of people that just watch American Survivor will be like, oh well, he'll stand out, he'll be the only one that can't fit in socially. And it's like, well, not really, because on Survivor Australia and these other international survivors, there are people that are like a little bit more hardcore, a little bit more into survival and getting their hands dirty, and a lot of shit talkers in interviews. So he's probably not going to be the only one out there with that style, if he even takes that style into it. But then also, man, I was doing research on the theme of the season and what it's contenders versus champions. And it's supposedly the champion stretches as far as like champions at life, which when I first heard champions, I was thinking like, oh, like someone who's won a gold medal or like maybe like a rugby championship or some shit. Mm-hmm. But like when they stretch it to champions at life, that to me is kind of like celebrities, right?
It could be anything.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's
insulting to the other tribe. Like, I'm not a champion. I'm just a contender at life.
You suck at life. I'm better at life than you.
I don't like this. You're like going in with an inferiority complex. It'd be interesting to see if they lose all the challenges.
Russell better not come back with an ego if that's the case. If they're calling him a champion at life, that's the last thing he needs to get the title of fucking I'm better at life than you. But no, like
open-ended.
But that's so what I'm getting at is if you have two tribes, right? Average Joes, average Australians, and then champions at life, there's a great chance that like a lot of these people are going to like even like overpower Russell as far as like social status, you know?
Yeah, be known entities, right? Which like you wouldn't think a guy like Russell would be able to hide in any season, but that's the only way possible. I mean, you add in the fact that like at least the last couple of seasons they had 24 people, like tribes of 12. So yeah, I mean,
so you have 11 famous like people that are just extremely famous, which I don't know a ton about Australian celebrities or what's big there. But I think that, yeah, like what you just mentioned too, like he could blend in. Yeah. Imagine
the original Mad Max.
Dude. But yeah, that gives me a little bit of hope too. Where I can kind of see his path, I guess, forming now. And then also like something that Russell's been pretty open about is when he was on his third time where he was a captain and Rob was a captain, they made sure to put a cast that didn't like Russell with him and a cast that loved Rob with him. So if Russell gets that treatment,
vibe.
If Russell gets that treatment though, that Boston Rob treatment, he could be playing with huge advantages, you know?
Yeah, right.
Because then he gets to the merge. He blends in with celebrities, with big stars. And then he gets to the merge, and all of a sudden he links up with friends, and he has his celebrity relationships. And then not friends, sorry, fans. And the fans are wanting to work with him type thing. Then all of a sudden he could build some momentum. But obviously my biggest concern, man, is surviving the first couple weeks.
Yeah, totally. I mean, but yeah, we saw with Boston Rob in that season that working with fans is even better than working with friends because you can build this like cult of personality around yourself and just lock it down.
It's fucking what Paul did a little bit in Big Brother 19 too. Yep. They were mesmerized by him, dude.
And then they got out and pretended they weren't.
Oh man, it would be sweet. It would be sweet if Russell were to do well because so many people are rooting against him, and I'm actually surprised at the hatred he gets. And I honestly, dude, like as a reality TV person who's been on a show, I really admire it because to draw that reaction out of people is fucking impressive. Like that's not easy to do.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to be polarizing. They are always, I mean, we always hear about like with casting, they're like, they have the hardest time finding villains because nobody wants to be hated, but they need one on like every season. They got to find somebody who's willing to be the bad guy.
Oh man, villains are the best to watch.
Yeah.
It's so fucking entertaining, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, every one of us like deep down had felt some kind of way when like, you know, when people like throw stuff in the fire, it's not like there's a little part of us like deep down, like that would love to be able to do that. Like when someone's sleeping, just, I don't like them and I'm going to throw their clothes in the fire now. Like,
I took it even further, bro. I shit in the water source.
That's right.
That episode, man, was so fucking funny. That clip. I need to get that clip and make it into a smaller video to show.
I mean, your show really did kind of feel like the old school Survivor, man, because like it was long and it was really, there was like a lot of downtime, right? So it was really a lot of focus on like the social relationships and the dynamics. And then, yeah, I mean, it got pretty ugly there down the stretch, dude. Just like some of those old Survivors, like you were talking about, people being like bitter and hateful and going at each other, like it had that feel.
You want it. You really want it as a fan. Like when people fucking hate each other, that's the best. You think about Ghost Island, even a season that's been kind of vanilla. I mean, I'm not complaining, but I'm not going to sit here and say it's like my favorite season in a long fucking time or anything. The best moment was when Wendell was talking shit about Chris in his confessional, right? And the genuine hatred, man. And to the point where it was like, dude, like, stop talking shit. You've been up there for 2 minutes and this is the first jury vote. Like, chill, like, shake his hand and jury management. But that was entertaining. Like that's fucking so much better, man, than just a boring old episode.
That's true. Yeah, and like the whole just Chris and Dominic stuff pre-jury, where like Dominic's like, I'm gonna bury the hatchet because I don't know why Chris is mad at me, and they would go and like show him an idol and give him everything, and Chris is like, gotta get rid of this guy. It's so funny.
Oh, dude, do you remember why they hated each other? Like, if it was anything,
Seemed like Chris, like some about Dominic's face. He just wasn't like. I really felt like Dominic tried. I mean, at least from the edit, right? Like we don't know for sure, but like it seemed like Dominic tried multiple times to, make up for the fact it all went back to like the very first thing on the beach where like Chris had to make a decision. What was the decision? I don't know, something. And Dominic like thought he made the wrong call, right? And like he said something, but he didn't really like mean anything by it. But like Chris gave him a look and then like went to a confessional. He's like, I don't like that guy. I'm gonna get rid of him.
oh shit, dude, I remember that.
Oh yeah,
so
man.
tiny.
First impressions, man, they're huge. Like you can't. It's hard.
And it
couldn't overcome it in like
fucking
2 weeks.
escalated. He never would have. It would have gotten worse.
Yeah.
I mean, dude. Imagine if he played his idol. It was about to fucking. They were about to go fight back at the camp if he had stayed. Like it was getting hostile at that trial. I wanted one more week so bad.
I can't believe he didn't play that idol.
Fucking Chris is just absolute like lack of survivor IQ and just common sense in life.
Yeah,
like,
they hosed him on that edit too at that last confessional where he's like, I'll tell you what I'm not going to do. Go home with an idol in my pocket. Oh, dude.
Oh my God. What a fucking idiot. The way he tries to justify it too, it's just like, what the fuck, man? He's an example of someone who's gone through the whole process and still doesn't get it.
Yeah,
like
the character.
Like, bro, you only have 2 weeks to fucking play it.
Yeah, not very self-aware. I mean, you could tell he didn't have much self-awareness. He's like, yo, I've got a secret. I'm a model.
I know.
Drop the hammer.
You think, man, what do you think? You think Russell will have enemies out there, like to rival?
I don't know. I mean, I guess like I could see some people do the thing they did on his third season, like right, like Ralph, the farmer guy who's like, I'm gonna make my name off of evicting Russell or whatever. I could see that. But
yeah, true.
Also, if you are the first one to go out and be like, we got to get rid of Russell and other people don't agree, then you're probably out. So you got to watch that too, right? Like if you're the first one to throw out a name and people don't like the name, then it's probably you. Like we've seen that before with Francesca, like twice, for example. She did it both times. Both times she's like, what about this person? They're like, what about you?
Yeah, dude. I mean, in today's Survivor, it's fucking do nothing is the answer. Same with Big Brother. It's to the point where you want to let others do everything and you just fucking do nothing, which he won't have the luxury of playing that way. Well, maybe he will with the celebrities, but dude, it's tough for me to say, honestly, as someone who's talked to him like a lot these last couple months. He seems to just naturally really gravitate towards confrontation and like enjoy it and like he not back down.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, man, his focus towards Survivor and like his fucking passion towards this shit is so deep that like me and you have talked about this before too, where people on live feeds lose focus. And I think in Survivor, it's the same shit where people can't keep their switch turned to on 24/7.
Yeah.
I think he possesses that ability. And he's one of the few humans who's ever played Survivor that really can focus 24/7. I think about like Tyson, his last time on when he just dominated. Yeah. I think like that's an example of someone where, I didn't see him 24/7, but I felt like he was on like just full focused mode all the time. And I think if Russell can do that, that's his way to not rubbing people the wrong way,
Yeah, no. And I think, I say again, like if you haven't seen a Survivor Australia season, they're like 24 people and they're like 50 some days. Like, so other people are going to be worn down by the course of that. And like you said, if he can survive like the early vote somehow, that's his biggest obstacle. He's going to find another gear and other people aren't going to have that because they don't have that like experience behind them probably.
Dude, I'm talking myself into thinking he's got this shit. like I'm all in.
It'll be
all
fun.
In on the
It'll
Russell
be fun
winning.
either way. I'm looking forward to watching it.
You think he can? You think if he got to final two, he could get the jury to vote for him?
Man, it's hard to know, right? Like we have no way of knowing.
It's a fucking coin toss, dude. Like people say jury management, but like it's so fucking difficult, and each jury decides the winner on their own terms. Like some juries will respect gameplay, some juries won't, and you kind of have to figure that out as you're going. And then I think a lot of the jury, man, is just fucking even with me and watching it, you go back and forth on people.
Yes.
And a lot of it's just timing. Like the someone on the jury might be thinking like, I'm going to vote for this person, I'm going to vote for this person, and then they just change their mind. And whenever they have that pen and paper in front of them, it's fucking crazy, really, how much luck is involved in that final vote. I feel like a lot of people either they don't understand that or that's just their only way that they can knock Russell. But I feel like there's so many variables and so many elements that go into the jury vote that you can't beat yourself up if you come in second place in Survivor, I don't think.
No, I agree. Like it's been something I've tried to like have a conversation on before. And I feel like a lot of people won't even like have the conversation because they're just like, well, the person who won. And like, I get that, but I think it is like something that's interesting to at least discuss, especially I think like with Big Brother 19 was especially interesting because you had this majority of the jury actually make a pact to vote against Paul, which like that is, something, a new level to it, I think, where like anybody could have beaten Paul just based on this pact. Like, I think it is worth discussing and just like, talking over like, what can you do in that situation? Can you do anything? If so, like, what do you have to do? Do you have to do it way in advance or is there something damage control you can do later? It's a lot more complicated, I think, than people are willing to give it credit for.
Yeah, that's insane. And that's, I mean, I feel like we've hit everything we can with Russell and if he's on Survivor Australia and potential options, but to go back to Ghost Island now and kind of put a cap on this thing, the whole Big Brother 19, them making a pact to vote a certain way where literally anyone could have beaten Paul. Who do you think has a chance of the remaining Ghost Island contestants?
I mean, it's a combination of the edit and their position, right, with idols and stuff. But it does seem like we're being set up for Dom or Wendell for the most part. I mean, I think that's at least the general consensus. I mean, I think Laurel and Donathan are definitely dark horses. I think I don't want to say Kellen's drawing dead because of the amount of airtime she's got, but it's very hard to see how she's going to navigate that position to a win at this point. Like, I just really don't see it.
She's in trouble. She's in trouble tonight.
She went to VD Strong like 2 weeks too long, basically, at least. Yeah, they made the move that she needed to make earlier in terms of just like extending the olive branch to the other side. Like that's the people who end up winning after the merge is the people who are the first to make that move, really. And Dom and Wendell, give them credit. They made it pre-merge, and then they kept, even though when they weren't voting with like Laurel and Donathan, they kept those lines open, those lines of communication. They kept them close. And it seems like that's a solid 4. And when you look at like the other 4, man, you've got like Sebastian who's like showing up to the gunfight with a kitchen knife. You know what I mean? and Angela, who
it's the B team, man.
That's a serious B squad right there for sure.
They put it. They segregated them last episode, A team and B team.
That was funny, right? Yeah. One tribal so compelling, and the other's like, I guess they could all go.
You find out if you made the varsity squad or if you got one more year on JV.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting. I do feel like tonight, we were talking about this earlier. I feel like tonight it could be another, maybe like Chelsea or Sebastian or someone, or it could be Kellen. But that the status quo right now seems like Dom or Wendell with like Laurel and Donathan being the rest of the 4, maybe.
Okay, yeah. So the format's final 4 and the third and fourth so final 4 immunity winner takes who they want, and then the other 2 battle for the third spot with fire. So that means 4 people are gonna have a chance. But do you think if you think Donathan snuck into the final 3 with like Wendell or Dom there, you think he would win? You think he could win?
I don't know. I feel like if Dom or Wendell get there, the jury's still more Navidi by the time it's done. I have a hard time seeing one of them losing. That's definitely possible. Donathan has friends out there. I also think what they probably should do, right, is like, yeah, they have that 4, but the rest of the entire game at this point is Navidi. Like once you're at 5, no matter who it is, Callan, Angela, like whoever the other person is, you can go ahead and turn on Laurel and Donathan. Like you have a connection there that they don't, I assume. So that's probably like really your best move is just go ahead and take whatever remaining Navidi person there is to the end with you. And then like, you got to vote for one of us, right?
Okay, so so final 3, what if votes were split on Dom and Wendell, which opened the door for the third person? You think which person do you think would have the best chance, assuming the jury would split between Dom and Wendell, and then someone else is trying to sneak in and beat both of them without the majority, 50% majority? That
is a good question. I mean, I guess from what we've been shown, I would have to say Donathan, because it does just seem like, I've really appreciated Laurel's game, but I feel like we've seen Donathan more making connections with people like Chelsea and other people that just, I didn't, know. As far as I know, nobody from Orange had really connections with some of those people because we never see them on the show. So you got to give him that, I guess.
It's tough though, man, because the other side of that, I see Donathan really like his social skills. Like he's a naturally likable dude, but I've also seen him rub like people the wrong way a little bit. Where like we're only seeing clips. So if I see him rub someone the wrong way, he might be doing it more than we see. Like I feel like the way that he sent Jenna home and the way that he didn't, the way that he rejected Michael's like question, "Can I borrow your idol?" The way he shut it down so hard, I felt like, I don't know if Michael would I think Michael wouldn't vote for him because he would respect the better game players. But then I think that Jenna very well could be like mad at him for telling her he's going to use the idol and then not using it on her and then actually voting her out. I don't know. I feel like I agree with the decisions that he made, like playing the idol last week and not letting Michael use the idol. Yeah. But I felt like the way he did it, he didn't do it the right way to like keep those people like in his pocket for jury votes. That's
a good point. That moment with Michael is funny. It reminded me of there's like an old Simpsons episode where like Mr. Burns has like $1 trillion bill and he's like, someone's like, "Can I see it?" Oh, Castro's like, "Can I see it?" And he's like, "Here." He's like, "Now give it back." Give what back? Like that's what Michael would have done with that idol, dude. Don't let him see that. See with your eyes, bro. See with your eyes. Don't trust that move. Dude. Let me just hold it real quick. Yeah, right. Okay.
I don't know how I would have maneuvered it, but I feel like you can't kill somebody's dreams when they approach you with a plan. Like if you don't agree with the plan, you got to kind of, at least be like, I really want to do this, but this is why I can't do it. Let
him down soft.
Oh, for sure, man. And then maybe even falsely, even if it's just false, just brainstorm with him other ideas he can do to make him feel good, feel better than the other people are making him feel. But you say that, and Michael did have his hand on half of that idol at one point.
Yeah, Mr. Grabby.
I fucking wanted him to take it. Did that cross your mind when you watched that?
Dude, that stuff always crosses my mind because I feel like there is a bit of like gray area in terms of the rules with this thing. Like I always go back to, we were talking about season 20, right? Where like they get this idol clue. They're like staying at a mansion for a reward and it's like in the bottom of the popcorn bowl. And Danielle and Amanda start like legitimately wrestling over it.
Fucking wrestling?
or like the time.
And then she gave it back when I thought it was in her hands. It was like, don't give it back. It's in your fucking hands. And she gave it back. And then they didn't show it to her, did they?
Colby shamed her. He's like, "I'm trying to watch this movie. Just give it back." It's like,
oh my God.
Colby, you're my ally. You're supposed to support me.
That's a fucking example, bro, of what I was saying at the beginning of this. Back then, gameplay was literally so bad. It's fucking unbelievable if you go watch it. Like, in what setting would somebody at a reward, shame their own ally into giving a fucking clue back because they're trying to watch a movie? Like, that's only back then.
Right.
It would have been an all-out fucking war for that shit now.
Yeah, you do remember, right? Those like old school rewards where they'd get to go on like a boat and everyone's like, "Let's just turn the game off." And it's like, dude, now there's like mad clues on that boat. You don't turn the game off. Hell no. Like,
Turn the game off, dude. Oh,
Yeah.
it makes me miss it, dude. It makes me miss it, even though it's like.
Well, those are the people you want to play against for sure. They're like, oh yeah, let's turn the game off. Absolutely, sure.
Do you think so? Like back then, I feel like at least with Russell's season, what made it so great was he was so far ahead of the pack as far as his ability to play that he just could run circles around people, and I feel like they could set that up very easily in today's game where they cast a bunch of Chris Nobles. They cast a bunch of people that haven't seen the show and don't really care enough about the show to study it. And then you put like some people that think more like you do that could just fucking terrorize these recruits. And then all of a sudden you're building a fucking superstar. I think that would never happen because CBS wants to kind of neutralize power where each cast member kind of has a share of the star power. That
unless it's Big Brother.
Yeah, I mean, Big Brother did that with Paul, but
I don't think they meant to. Yeah, right.
That was such a unique situation. I feel like I don't think they. I mean, they were fucking helping him out a whole lot. They definitely it turned into that. I feel like that's entertaining though when it's centered around one person. I guess with Paul it was annoying as shit though. But
well, you did.
I feel like there's potential there for like one of the greatest seasons ever if they can get somebody to run that shit. Maybe not a returning player, but like a new player doing it.
Yeah. I mean, you just have to. Those players come, like, I mean, I found Tony really compelling. I think there's some players that come along and their first time are just automatically just kind of TV gold and you just want to watch them all the time. But yeah, it's rare. You've got to you check a lot of boxes in terms of being
rare as shit, dude.
Yeah.
It's super rare. I mean, this season, I don't think any of them are capable of it. Like, I think if this cast, I mean, hypothetically, if you would say they could play Survivor 100 times for the first time, I don't think in any scenario, any of these people, because I would think Dom would be the closest and Mike, well, maybe Michael. But you know what I saw out of Michael is they tell you this too when you're on a survival show is when you get hungry, you stop talking and when you're like starving. And I saw Michael turned really lackadaisical on me like the past several weeks. So yeah. I don't think he could like as good of a game player as he was. I don't think either of those guys could really like carry a fucking show where they're like just roasting people in interviews and then backing it up with great gameplay too.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, maybe on a second try, you know what I mean? I mean, because a lot of times we see people like watch what they did the first time and really gain some self-awareness from that and then like incorporate that into what they do again. But yeah, with Michael, yeah, he went out there with a lot of bulk. And I think just in general in Survivor, like you definitely want to be like in great shape. But I think a lot of times like there is a limit with like how much muscle you want to carry out there because like, man, like it's going to deplete.
I would think you'd want.
Am I wrong about that? Am I just totally.
Well, best case scenario, I think you'd want to be as big as possible because it's tough though, dude. Because I think you just lose so like if you went out there and you were like 20 pounds heavier than you normally are,
right?
That really just means you're going to lose the 20 pounds faster and then delay. You're going to get like 15 or 20 pounds under your natural body weight as a man the size of Michael's size or my size. You'll get like, what is that, like 10% under your natural body weight regardless. I mean, everyone's going to get fucking skinny, and I don't think it's as big of a deal, but I would go in as fat as possible, I would say. I would say that's the move. Gain as much fucking weight as you can the months leading up because it'll just it'll give you a few extra days as far as when your body will hit that point where it's just at its lowest, I guess.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I've talked to a few different people who have played, and some people were like, yeah, I want to get fat before I go. And some people were on the other side. Like if I lose the weight ahead of time, then the hunger won't bother me as much, I guess, like start to prep your body for the
that view
deprivation.
No, that wouldn't be. You wouldn't want to lose weight for sure, but I would assume that's probably someone overweight saying that. But that's not true.
Right.
You'd want to go in as big as you can because you're gonna lose that shit like fucking instantly. I'm talking like 4 days in, you'll have lost like 10 pounds or more. It's amazing how much weight you lose when you don't eat. Something a lot of Americans I know don't have their head wrapped around.
Yeah,
they don't
for sure.
understand that.
I mean, I've watched every episode of like every season of Survivor, and even I can't fully appreciate. It's like we see these segments of like, oh, I'm so hungry, and then we just like fast forward to a challenge. You don't realize that was just hours upon hours of nothing to do but think about your hunger. Like, that's rough, man.
But I'll say this, man. So Stranded was a game far less complex than Survivor.
Yeah.
It was a competition show, so there were just definitely elements of strategy and challenges and stuff. But for me, I was so fucking pumped to be on a TV show, as would most of the people that are listening to this right now, and all of us super fans, the reality TV community, that I was so fucking pumped that I was on a high every single day. So I never was like, I was never like down or in a bad mood or like, because you see these people almost pouting like they're just so emotionally broken. I was like, no, I want to be on a fucking show on MTV. Like, this is amazing. And then beyond that, if I wasn't thinking about how fucking awesome it was that I was going to be on a show and be the biggest character in it and all that, I was thinking, what can I do in this game? What relationships can I work on? How can I control different people? There's so much to think about. And Survivor, there's like 10 times as much stuff to think about than Stranded. Stranded was pretty straightforward compared to Survivor. Survivor, there's so many fucking layers to it. Like, if you're bored out there, you're not playing the game hard enough. And I don't mean go out there and overplay and just play your ass off into getting voted home. I mean mentally. You should be entertained by the thought of, okay, what do I need to do? Like how Cochran says before he went to bed, he would stay up at night a couple hours just looking at the stars, thinking about each one of his relationships with every individual person. Like, there's always something to do that's productive to your game. It might fucking be talking one-on-one with someone about their fucking family back home. So many people, we're going to see it tonight, the fucking Loved Ones episode. So many people are overly emotional about this shit. All you got to do is tap into their soft spots in their hearts and they'll fucking love you for it. It might get you a jury vote because you had a fucking conversation with Wendell about his girlfriend, or maybe talk to him about his love of guacamole.
Or brought her along on a steak dinner. Yeah, exactly.
So there's always something, man. If you say, oh, I was bored out there for so long, you fucking played wrong. Because I guarantee you, if Russell is out there on Survivor Australia, if he is out there, he's not bored right now. I guarantee you. Yeah. And you talk about the greatest players that have ever played Survivor. If they get a chance to go out there, they're not bored. And in some cases, that's bad, like Tony on Second Chances. That's the wrong way. But I mean,
sprinting down the beach screaming, that's not good game.
Hell, he wasn't bored, but he wasn't exactly doing it the right way. But there's things that you can do to help your game without like building a fucking spy shack where people are watching you try to help your game. You gotta do it discreetly, So, oh man, but. Anyways, man, Survivor, I am so fucking happy, man. Like, just Russell Hantz, man. I cannot wait to talk to the guy. I'm so fucking pumped.
Yeah, no, that's wild, man, that you are finding this out like with all of us and you've been doing the show. Like, that's cool.
Who would have thought, man? I was just a fan a couple years ago. You would have thought it's good to hear your voice on a podcast again, too. I got to tell you.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. It's been a lot of fun talking to you, and I'm sure we'll do it again sometime soon.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, hopefully you'll do it. If we don't do it again soon, where can they find you? What will you be up to? You got a little podcast or something you're working on?
Yeah. I did one show of Kidwell's Corner, like back with the Celebrity Big Brother cast release, and then I kind of like fell off it for a while. But I'm planning on doing something. They just announced that like the next Amazing Race season is going to be former Big Brother and Survivor people, and that just opens the door for just rampant ridiculous speculation. So that seems like a good opportunity to do a show. So I'll probably do something for that like sometime this weekend. And yeah, I don't know. Hoping to record some stuff in the future, maybe cover some Big Brother this summer, and we'll see where it goes.
Hell yeah. If you to the award-winning listeners out there, if you don't follow Alex Kidwell on Twitter, he's a great follow for any reality TV fan. I'm glad that we crossed paths and met on Twitter, because I've enjoyed your opinions on there as well.
Yeah, me too, man. Yeah, it's been fun, commiserating over some of the things that like irk us about just the shows, the reality TV community, and then just like finding that we have a lot of the same opinions on like the way these games are meant to be played. It's always nice when you find like someone who thinks along those same lines with these games.
It is, man. It can get.
There's not that many of us out there who are just like down to get all Machiavellian and into this stuff. So it's cool.
Yeah, definitely, man. And along with what you said about the Big Brother Amazing Grace speculation, I should be hopping on a podcast here with Judd from Big Brother, JUDD, to do the same thing.
Party darty.
To do the same thing. So we'll see if our speculations are whose is more accurate.
Perfect. I like that.
All right, there you have it, folks. That's going to do it for my interview with Alex Kidwell on Survivor Ghost Island and all the rumors surrounding Russell Hantz for Survivor Australia Season 3. We'll see if it's true or not true. I don't know. Time will tell, guys. Time will tell. We'll find out what Russell's been up to soon. What I do know is I've seen a lot of hate out there online. You guys can see it too. I'm sure you have. A lot of Russell Hantz haters out there. And all I got to say is if you're a Russell Hantz hater, what the hell are you doing here? This is the Russell Hantz Show. Give us 5 stars. Hit that subscribe button. I don't know how you do it with these podcasts. But anyways, to the rest of you, thanks for listening. And as always, keep hope alive.